stillness, the sounds of birds chirping and the wind rustling in the trees. And yet, these soothing sounds fail to break through the brick walls of Mason High School. 1/3 of teenagers struggle with mental health, and as these numbers continue to rise, so does our concern for the youth. Mason High School is taking steps forward in the conversation of mental health, and Hope Squad is part of that initiative. I sat down with Katherine Robiglio to discuss the inner workings of Hope Squad.
So there's a lot of misconceptions around Hope Squad, and I think my goal here today is to kind of shed light on what you guys really do. So can you go into detail a little bit about what Hope Squad does?
Hope Squad is, everyone knows it's a peer suicide prevention group, but I think there's a lot more that we do that people don't really understand. We have committees who, like building-based outreach, who are working on sending Hope Squad, like the message and like the presence like in the school, and like making sure people know what we do so that that question doesn't get asked all the time. And then we help other kids who are struggling with mental health, who are just struggling with their day, who are struggling with just something that's bothering them. Like, we're there to help people and help them get where they need to be.
Kind of building on that, you said you wish people didn't ask that question so much. How do you feel you can combat that sort of perception around Hope Squad?
I think a lot of it is, even though I hate to be asked that question, is actually asking the question. Like, if you go up to a member and say, hey, what is it that Hope Squad really does? Or like, what is your role on Hope Squad? Or what is something you wish Hope Squad was doing? And then you can try and implement it, saying that to a member. Because I feel a lot of times when people like ask those questions because they don't know.
I think often students find it hard to talk to other students. So how is it that Hope Squad, which is all about students helping other students, why is that the best method of mental health?
I think that Hope Squad's a great method for getting students to talk to each other, especially about really vulnerable topics, because everyone in Hope Squad is like, they're there for a reason. They're there because people have said, hey, this person is someone that I feel I could talk to about anything. You know, they're kind and they're open to other people, and they're understanding and they're empathetic, and they like, their aim is to help someone.
Kind of tying onto that, you mentioned that students pick other students. How do you feel that's not always like a popularity contest?
This is actually something we talk about a lot in Hope Squad. I don't think any of that is true. I'm also not going to go around the squad and say, I don't think you should be in Hope Squad. Because I think everyone has they have a different like dynamic of kids that they reach out to. Because we talk about this a lot about our dynamic, and I think that everyone comes from really different places. They come from different friend groups, and they come from different sports and activities, so they have a different outreach, and like our goal is to be able to have a connection to every kid in the school through a Hope Squad member, so someone always has somewhere to go.
Kind of tying it back to what you actually do within the organization, what steps do you take as a Hope Squad member? Like, what are the actual like tangible things that you do when someone needs help?
So that's like the QPR, the question, persuade, refer. So someone, when they come and they talk to you, and you just ask them like, hey, how are you? Like, you don't like, it's never like a questionnaire. Like, I'm never sitting down with you and being like, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? What's happening? Like, it's more of an open conversation like this is, and you just like kind of try and talk to them. You don't have to like really, like I said, like not like drill in on like what's going on, but you kind of like, you just ask them how they're doing, kind of build a connection, and sometimes it doesn't happen right away, but it takes a little bit to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, how are you feeling? And then the persuade is like, hey, do you want to go talk to a counselor? Do you want to go talk to a school therapist? Do you want to talk to, do you have a trusted teacher and advisor that you'd rather talk to?
So Hope Squad more works as a connecting point.
Yeah, it's more, it's more of a channel from student to like all of these great resources that we're always like, hey, we have these great counseling department, we have like the therapists in the school, we have all these great people, but people don't know how to get to them. You can always get to them through a Hope Squad member, through a Hope Squad advisor, will help you find them. And that's more of like the refer is getting them there.
I mean, that makes sense, and I think that that's good to know, because not a lot of students understand that it's not you. It's not the Hope Squad member that's telling you how to fix a problem. It's giving you the opportunity to talk to someone else. And kind of growing upon that whole issue of talking, there's a lot of stigma around talking about mental health.
Yeah.
And I know that's starting to change, and it's a great thing that it's starting to change. How has Hope Squad aided that change?
I think one of the great things, not just even in Mason, but just like with the Hope Squad being implemented in so many schools across the country, is just like making people open to talk about it. Like, hey, there's like 80 people in our Hope Squad that you can go and talk to about this, and they will openly talk to anyone about this topic, just to break the stigma, just to get talking about it. Like, honestly, if you can just strike up a conversation with someone about mental health, you're already doing great things to break the stigma.
Hope Squad is helping to make the school a little bit smaller, a little bit warmer, and a little bit happier. So strike up a conversation, learn more about Hope Squad, and continue the talk about mental health, because extending a singular hand towards someone in need can save a life. I'm Delaney Cowles, NBC News.